We're back with Larry the Cable Guy. Welcome to the show, man.
Man, Turner, this is so fun. I'm excited to be on your show. I've been wanting to get on. You know, you've called me. Come on. I was going to do it yesterday, but I forgot it was Memorial Day, so.
Yeah, what were you doing? We figured you might be grilling or barbecue or something.
Well, no, I didn't grill or barbecue. My kid, I got a stock pond here, so me and my kid went down and he's trying to catch catfish. Let me tell you this. So he calls me down there. He goes, Dad, you got to come see this catfish. He's got an alien on him. I'm like, what the hell? So I go to, and which is odd because he's 40 years old. So no, he's 12. So I go down there, and this is the weirdest thing ever. I go, what in the world? This catfish it's coming from his butt, his anus, and it's wrapped around him, and it's a spine. It's
what?
Yeah, whatever it is, you can see the little bones. And I'm like, what is that? Well, come to find out, he was pooping out a snake at 8.
Whoa, really?
Dude, how crazy is that?
This is all right. I can already tell this is different than New York City.
Educational here, yeah. I didn't know this was possible.
Dude, I didn't either. But I'm going, what is that thing? And as I'm looking at it, I go, well, hold on a second. Let's get it out of there. So I stepped on it. And so he took the catfish and pulled the catfish so we could pull it out of him. And we pulled it out of him. And it was a big old catfish, probably a 3-pounder. But
Dude.
That thing I would say that was probably a 16-inch long snake.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I didn't know fish could poop. I never thought about that before.
Yeah, well, I take that back. Maybe a foot, maybe 12-inch, but it was long. It was like, and it was the whole spinal cord of the fish. So how crazy?
So that's not normal, right?
Well, I think they eat snakes, but I've never caught one in the act of pooping out the snake.
Yeah.
You ruin it. He's enjoying a good shit, and he gets the hook and ruins his whole day.
They're actually eating and pooping at the same time. The only thing, my sister's the only one that does that I know.
So what's going on, man? In what's Lincoln, Nebraska? Is there football? Are we going to be? Is that going to be happening?
Oh, I think you're going to see some football.
You do?
Yeah, I think you're going to see it. Look, I don't ever want to get political on these things, but this is, I just sent out a tweet. The whole mask thing pisses me off. I mean, 6 months into a pandemic, now let's start wearing masks. It doesn't make any sense, first of all. The CDC comes out and says early on, they have literally done. You go on all these old pages about masks. They've literally done years and years and years and years and years of scientific research on masks throughout and their final conclusion, of course, was, well, if there's a real bad virus, masks really aren't going to protect you that much. The best, if somebody is sick, they should wear one to stop from spreading it. But if you're not sick, you shouldn't wear one, as a matter of fact. I mean, they have this whole thing about it. And then all of a sudden, in literally overnight, they changed their entire view of it overnight.
That is curious because the Surgeon General was saying they flipped. I mean, either one way or the other, they were wrong at some point, right?
They've been wrong almost on every. Dude, it's the craziest thing. But anyway, so I tweet out this thing. I tweet out this thing today. The media is all for, if it wasn't for, in my opinion, if it wasn't for the media scaring everybody and overblowing this thing, we would have never had to lose all these jobs. We would have never, but the media loves to create fear and panic. And everybody is basically, all these other doctors are saying, calm down. But they created the fear. So now they're in Wisconsin and they're mad because they opened the beaches, the lakes and stuff for Memorial Day. So all these Wisconsinites are out there, and there's the reporter. They're doing a live thing, and he's got his mask on. and she's asking questions from the studio. Well, isn't anybody concerned about their personal safety? And he goes, well, it doesn't look like it. There's not one person out here with a mask. And he's talking about how pissed off he is about nobody's wearing a mask. He's got his mask on. And then he goes, but nobody's really. And then at the end, about 40 seconds at the very end of it, he goes, well, but no, I don't see anybody wearing a mask and being responsible out here. And some guy walks by and goes, yeah, and that includes your cameraman and crew. He was not even the cameraman and the crew was. I think one guy on the crew was wearing a mask. Nobody else was. It's all for show, man. It's so frustrating. All I know is this. My buddies are all in Florida. And they have not changed anything at all. I mean, businesses closed. They didn't know why the businesses had to close. People still going to beaches. People still having parties. They said they were having barbecues back in March. And they don't have, I mean, they have a serious amount of old people down there, and nothing has happened.
Well, I think it's region by region. In New York City, definitely.
Well, it's clearly indoors is also the.
You know, and I think that taking it region by region, city by city is probably the way to go. Because in New York City, there's definitely a virus. People are dying. But in other places, that's kind of why we want to talk to you. Because everyone we talk to has been in a place where there's extreme cases going on. But we haven't talked to anybody yet who's in a place where there's not a lot of cases.
We never really had a lockdown or anything like that.
Oh, no?
I mean, we don't even have that many cases. It's, you know, they started out with, by the way, we're in the 67th day of a 15-day lockdown. So it just seems odd to me. It was the whole reason we did this was to not overcrowd the hospital system, because we wanted to make sure that when people got sick, they would have hospital beds. And we got it. And the American people were like, hey, we get it, man. We get it. Then all of a sudden, now we've got more masks than we got more ventilators than we need. Now hospitals are literally laying off staff because they're not using the hospital. They sent the ship to New York City. They barely used the ship. They had to close down a couple of the makeshift hospitals. Nobody used them. Then they said, well, we need to flatten the curve. We need 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Well, it's been flattening. It's flat here, but they're still reluctant. You know, it's always something. And it's, you know, just as somebody that's just level-headed, and I mean, I get it. I don't want, you know, it seems like that we could have protected the people. Now that we know who this really affects, it seems like we could take precautions for them and let everybody else live their lives. Now, look, I get New York City, but also from the things I read and the things that I see, I mean, Florida has Florida's population and New York's population overall pretty close. And they have 9,000 deaths. New York has what, 29, 30,000? And 42% of those deaths were in old folks' homes in New York City. And the other percentage of those deaths were still older people that weren't in old folks' homes. So obviously it's an old folks' disease, and it seems like they could have taken care of those old folks' homes a lot better. It seems like they're punishing everybody else for their mistakes. You know, I mean, look, just as a casual observer, I mean, I'm not going to break any laws and go out and protest and divide, start trouble. But I mean, when you think critically about the whole thing, it doesn't make any sense. And I'll tell you this, Turner, here's the whole reason why I think most of it's a lot of BS. Okay?
Yeah.
Because why did they shut down small businesses and let big businesses remain open?
Yeah.
You know, does the coronavirus only attack people that aren't in Walmarts and Home Depots?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't make
grocery stores.
That doesn't make a lick of sense. You got a tattoo parlor, somebody cutting hair. If they said, hey, we'll take the same precautions they're taking in Home Depot, then why would you close their store? It doesn't make any sense. And the only thing I can make of it is, Walmart, and Amazon, they're all up 70%, 65%, 48%, while small business is down 40%.
Yeah, I mean, a lot are out of business, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. Not one model they had were right. They keep changing the models. Now Fauci's coming out saying, we need to get the economy going. We need to start getting – yeah, no shit. That's what we were saying 3 weeks into the whole thing with Jackwad. I mean, it's almost like nobody knows. They're flying by the seat of their pants.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that we called a doctor in Brooklyn. Well, I had dinner with a guy on March 6th who then 5 days later called and said, "Hey, we just found out I have coronavirus. My girlfriend does. You guys should all quarantine." So we quarantined. We called a doctor in Manhattan, and she said, on the news it says there's 25 cases total in New York City today. But we've been getting thousands of calls a day. So you guys either get out of there or stay inside. But I think they were ill prepared obviously from the beginning.
Yeah, obviously ill prepared. But here's another thing. It's like in Nebraska, they always report on the news. We got 75 more cases of coronavirus, and people are, oh shit. Well, because you're testing more. You said a month ago you're going to start doubling and tripling the testing. Obviously, if you're going to test, you're going to get more.
Right.
98% of the people that get coronavirus are going to be fine. I know a lot of people that I golf with or that I know that have had it. My buddy Dave, who's 64 years old, he's active. There's nothing wrong with the guy. He had it. And I said, "What was it like, man?" He goes, "Oh, I think it lasted like 3 hours. I kind of got a headache and my throat hurt for a little bit. And then that was it. It went away."
Yeah.
And I honestly think that my family had it last year. I think this thing hit last year. And if you ask me, I think this is the second wave they're talking about. Because last year in November, I had a buddy of mine from Montana. His wife's mom died, and they said it was of a mysterious lung disease. And she passed away. My wife got horribly sick for about 2 days. No fever, but she just had a horrible throat and phlegm everywhere. My daughter had like this horrible cough for like 3 days. My little boy one day got off the couch and threw up twice, and it was all congested. And that was it. That was the extent of it. And I never got it. I haven't had the flu in 10 years. So,
yeah.
And I think a lot of that, Turner, is, and I don't want to take all the time talking here, but I think a lot of that is.
You're the guest, man. That's why we had you on.
But I think a lot of that is because I'm a stand-up comedian and I shake a crap load of hands. Yeah. And I meet a lot of people, and my immune system has been built up to withstand a lot of stuff.
We're immune, dude.
Yeah. The only time, Turner, exactly. The only time that I ever notice myself where I might be getting sick is when I don't get enough sleep and I wear down my immune system. Like I remember being on the road a couple of times, and I had shows. I went golf, and we had early tee times, and I probably got 3 hours of sleep for 4 days. When I got home, I noticed myself, my throat, I started getting phlegmy, I started getting sick. So what I did, the next couple of days, I slept about 10 or 11 hours every night, and it was fine. I built my immune system back up. But it just gets frustrating, because there's doctors all over the place that say, you got to get out. You have to be around people to build your immune system up. And I think that's why I haven't gotten sick. The early days of stand-up, I used to get strep throat twice a year, like clockwork, in the summer and the winter. And the more and more that I toured and traveled and was with people, it went away. I haven't gotten strep throat since.
Yeah, well, that's the immunity thing is true. Like Kaplan, by the way, this is Mike Kaplan. That's the guy I do the podcast.
Hey, Mikey, how are you, buddy? Good. Good to see you. Well, you're a horrible host, Turner. Horrible host.
And
Turner doesn't shake as many hands as you, though. So
it only took. I'm 1% as immune as you are.
Yeah, exactly.
But Cap was saying that, I escaped. I'm in Virginia right now at my brother's place. We've been here a couple months, but Kaplan stayed in Long Island City, and the second wave's going to come to New York when people like me come back. And we don't have, we haven't been walking around near it all for the last couple months. So you might be right.
It's like I heard a couple other doctors say that the worst thing that we could have ever done was tell people to stay in and not go out. Because he said, when winter comes, you're going to start seeing people getting sick from things they normally never used to get sick from, because they've lost a lot of that immunity to it. The whole mask thing, it just gets ridiculous. I saw a woman the other day, and, it's always these flipping, bitchy, curmudgeon douchebags, like where
a lot of them in New York.
Yeah, where I golf at up the road, Nebraska doesn't have that much. It's a huge state with only about 1.2 million in it, So we haven't been. Our governor's awesome. He encouraged people to get out, get fresh air, and that's what you need to do. But I remember there was a woman on the 8th hole. Her and her husband. They just built this house. They were looking to the telescope and the binoculars and taking pictures of people not social distancing on the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Sending them to the health department, trying to get the golf course shut down.
Sure. Yeah. That's Kaplan's whole neighborhood. He's been telling me that in Long Island City, New York, that's a new hobby. That's a new thing to do now.
We have a hotline, and I can suss them out. I see people all covered up, and they just take pictures.
There's a snitch line. The mayor put out a snitch line.
There's a snitch line in New York City to do this, and
Kaplan, I heard that they did that, and all the pictures, they were getting a bunch of penis pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, can you think, Larry? Can you think of a worse city to try to get people to snitch than New York City?
I mean,
it's the code of the city. Don't snitch.
Yeah, right. It's ridiculous.
I see them taking pictures, and I get closer to someone just so, even though I am being responsible normally, just to try to get famous somehow.
Well, here's how ridiculous they are, though. So that woman that was taking pictures, this is how the media has everybody so scared. So she's outside. I'm at that same hole, but I mean, she's way up there. She's, she's probably a 4-iron from me. Okay. So she's 210
yards.
210 yards.
Yeah.
Well, I got extra distance, so I'm doing
okay. For me, it's 200. Larry, the cable guy, it's 210.
So she's 210 from me. She's outside gardening. She's watering a plant with blue gloves on all the way up both arms. She's got gloves, all like those, like the gloves that you go up a cow's butt and try to artificially inseminate them. She's got those long arm gloves on and a face mask, all by herself in her yard watering the plants. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's people like that are keeping the country shut down, because the minute they see something they don't like, they're tattletales. They're scared to death tattletales.
Yeah. What about are your kids high school age? Are they in school right now?
No, they're 12 and 13 and
they're 12 and 13. Are you teaching them?
We've always homeschooled, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've always homeschooled, which is dumb because we're idiots, but.
So you were ready for this, man.
So they were ready, yeah.
Yeah, but PE's always nice, because PE's like take out the trash, wash my truck.
You should give Kaplan notes. Kaplan has
PE here today. They do like videos that they're doing yoga and all sorts of weird stuff that their gym teacher setting them, like dance videos and stuff. They don't know what to do with these kids. So
yeah, I need tips. I feel bad for people that live like in apartments in the city and stuff that can't get out. Their parks are closed. It really sucks. My opening act that I take on the road with me, Nick Hoff, is a real funny guy. I love him to death, but he's got 3 kids. He was shut up in his apartment in LA. And I said, Nick, get in your car and drive to your parents' house in Hastings, Nebraska. At least the
Yes.
kids can get out and they can go to the park and they can,
Well, that's why we left. It's just my wife and I, but we're in a 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. We left to go to my brother's house in Virginia because he has a backyard and a front yard, and like he just bought a blow up. He just bought a blow up hot tub with jets. So we're living the high life out of here, you know.
Well, it's got to end sometimes. It's getting flat out ridiculous. I don't think people now the media's letting everybody know there's going to be they just keep trying to scare everybody, and nothing has happened. Every doomsday scenario that they said would happen has not happened.
Yeah.
And you can't say it's because we're wearing masks. People didn't start wearing masks like 2 weeks ago, douchebag. So don't tell me it's because they're wearing masks.
So what about comedy-wise? Are you what are you thinking looking forward? Like, is there any, people are talking about outdoor shows. I saw somebody's doing a show like where everyone sits in their car and you stand in a truck in a parking lot. Zoom shows.
Turner, I'm telling you, I really feel bad for comics that are up and coming. And I sent out a tweet a while back and I said, look, for all the comics that have had really good success and stuff, we need to help these comedy clubs out. So if you had a home comedy club where you started or anything, then like I'm going to do that at Omaha at the Funny Bone. I'm going to, as soon as they're allowed to have a full capacity crowd, I'll go up and do as many free shows as they need to do. That's to awesome. Take care of the staff that has lost wages, to take care of hopefully get the club back up to where they can, be okay. I don't care. If that takes 3 weeks, I'll do 3 weeks of shows. But that's what they need to do to get these comedy clubs open. But, I know comics now that are funny comics that are working construction and
I'll be honest, man, you're saving me right now with the radio.
Well, that's the thing. I'm glad that I was able to sign some guys, because it gets you play on Sirius. Now, guys like that, guys that are getting play on the radio and they're sitting at home and they're collecting some checks from their stuff getting earned. That's a real good help for people now. But as far as I am, I really don't know. I only do 25 or 30 dates. I've slowed down a lot, just kind of enjoy my life a little bit. I don't want to miss my kids growing up, but I still love getting on stage. This is the longest I've ever gone in 32 years, not getting on stage. Yeah. So I hope I even remember my act when it's time to go.
I know. Yeah.
But
you haven't been doing Zoom? No Zoom comedy for you?
No Zoom comedy for me. But people that are doing Zoom comedy, I get it. They're trying. They want to keep their name out there, and they want people to.
I'm doing it. I have a show every Friday night. I used to host a Friday night show in Brooklyn at 8 p.m. And so we didn't do anything for 6 weeks when this happened. Our last show was March 6th. And then we decided right at the end of April, let's try it again on Zoom. And every Friday night we've had a full show. We make 100 tickets available and we got 100 people showing up every time, 100 households, right?
Yeah.
And then writing new material, trying it out, whatever. Just trying
that's
to stay
the way
active.
it is. Comics that hustle
and
think outside the box are going to do pretty good. But I do think, though, that we're going to lose a certain percentage of clubs. I think the bigger clubs obviously are going to be okay because comics are going to go and help them out. But I think you're going to lose a lot of the smaller places where you used to be able to go and work out material. And it completely sucks because it didn't have to happen. We took those 2 weeks and shut down the country to try and figure out what's going on. And it's almost like we put these medical people in charge of the economy. And, it's like I talked to in Nebraska, I like to ask questions. I don't try to overturn the apple cart, but there's nothing wrong with asking questions. George Carlin always said in his act, question everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do question everything, and it's like I call it the University of Nebraska Medical Center. They're one of the tops. They were the ones that took the Ebola people when they came up here in Omaha, so they know their stuff. But I asked them all kinds of questions. I asked them the other day about the mask. They said something about everybody should wear masks, and I told them, I said, well, not to be a pain, but how do I know that you're given the correct information? Because when I look at the guys from Stanford and I look at the guys from MIT, they say completely the opposite.
Oh, really?
So how is somebody supposed to know? So, I was just asking questions like that. But I think after we saw after that first 2 weeks, we knew who it was affecting. They should have taken better steps to protect the elderly and protect and to do that. It's like my mom. My mom's not worried about it. My mom's 84 years old, and she's upset because she's lost her card party. She can't do her bingo. She can't. And she said, look, I have lived through a lot. I was going to school when the nuclear alarm went off, and we had to go hide under our desks, and we didn't know if we're getting bombed or not. She goes, so I've lived through a lot. She's lived through the polio. She's lived through all that stuff, and she's pissed off because she feels like she's in prison. She can't go do anything. She's in these last years of her life. She wants to enjoy her life, and now she's not able to do that. She's locked in a house, and she can't go do anything. And to her, that's worse than getting a virus. And my wife's grandma, they won't let anybody. Does this make any sense? She's 94 years old. She's probably got a year left, maybe less. She's not in good shape. They will not let anybody come visit her because they don't want her to get the coronavirus. It's like Carlin said. It's like going to a guy in death row and giving him the shot to kill him, but then they put the alcohol on there before they do it so he doesn't get an infection.
Yeah, that'll bit. Yeah. So you're getting your I don't know. I think when it comes back, back to stand up though. So the club that I started at out in Shanghai that my friend and I started is now in Hong Kong, and they got to reopen a week or two ago, and it's just packed. So I think once we are allowed to reopen, it's going to come, at least initially, right? Stand-up will come back.
Now, let me ask you this. Did you wear a mask when you were in Hong Kong?
No, I wasn't there a couple weeks ago, but they are. They did the first weekend of shows last week, 2 weekends ago, and then I think last weekend the local government told them they need to wear masks on stage. The comedians. I don't know.
Really?
I don't think they did it, but I think they're supposed to do it, and they're just risking, somebody coming around and checking.
Well, that's stupid. Half of a comedy routine is facial expressions.
I know. I don't know if they get a clear one or what the deal is, but yeah.
That's
nuts,
just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's.
So how's the special doing? Because it's on.
Let's move on to something happy.
Something else. Yeah, because you are getting. I feel like everything's getting giant ratings now that everyone's stuck at home, right?
My special did good. It came out, debuted #1 on the comedy charts. It stayed up there. I think it was #1 for 3 weeks, and then it fell back to 7, then up 2, then to 3, then to 50, then up to 12. But the thing that you notice about the comedy charts is you only have to sell 5 to be in the top 100.
Oh, I know. I was #2. Yeah, I know that. But the thing is, when mine came out, you're watching the charts for your week or whatever, your couple weeks, whatever it might be. And I was up to the whatever, like #2 or something. But you were like #3, 7, 11, 12, 13. Do you know what I mean? Like all your old ones. It's like 5 people. It's you, John Mulaney, maybe Jim Gaffigan, and that's about it.
I was really happy with it, though, because I haven't, my last full CD was my stadium show that I did, tailgate party in the University of Nebraska's football stadium.
Yeah.
And that was in 2009. And since then, I did a project with Bill and Jeff, and then I did a thing with Jeff called Them Idiots. So I never really – it was my first hour-long special in 10 years.
And what's that like? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I don't really want to do television anymore. I don't want to be away from home. I'm sick of doing the movie stuff. I did it. It was fun. I just want to enjoy my life. I'm 57. My kids are at the perfect age. And so I wasn't really, the only limelight I really get is when I do all the celebrity golf tournaments. So I was thinking, well, let's see how this does since I've been out of the line. But I'll tell you what, man, it is sold. Just the DVD itself has just done off the charts. So
that's great.
That's great.
Yeah. So Comedy Dynamics is really happy with it. So I was really happy. I got a really good fan base, and
I know you do because your fan base supports me.
Yeah. No, they do. They like supporting stuff that's funny. And they don't like to get preached at about stuff. They just want funny comedy. And the whole reason I started the label is because there's a lot of guys like you that are really funny that need to be heard, and
thanks, man.
You got these big record companies, unless you're already out there selling out theaters and stuff, they're not even going to take a chance on you. So I just thought it was a good idea to start signing some guys that I think are funny, because I know if I think they're funny, people will think they're funny. And not only that, you're perfect for our station. You don't have any none of that F-bombs or taking the Lord's name in vain or stuff like that. Because a lot of people listen to our station, have their kids in there. They're, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's clean. It's a clean, it's just kind of how I developed naturally, so I think it worked out. I know a lot of comedians the last few years were kind of trying to adapt their set for the radio.
Right.
And thank you, but it also kind of just worked out that that's where the set was anyway. It was clean,
Right. No, it was awesome. And I'm happy to sign you. I mean, they get requests, Morale takes the requests, and I know that your name comes up a lot.
Wow, that's cool.
So we play stuff as much as we can. I'm going to put out a thing here pretty soon and just list everybody that's on my label and have people give them a list. And, there's a guy I got called Tim the Dairy Farmer.
Yeah.
And I know people would think Tim the Dairy Farmer, but man, that guy he was only working at ag conventions.
Wow. Okay.
And farm stuff. And I find that, because I grew up like he did, so I find all of his stuff hilarious. So I signed him, and man, he gets some pretty good play out there.
That's awesome. How'd you hear him?
How did I hear Tim the Dairy Farmer? Somebody sent me. You know what? I heard a clip of him doing something that somebody sent me, and I'm like, oh man, Tim the Dairy Farmer, and so
that's a great name.
Yeah, and so I got a hold of him and told him, I said, man, your stuff is really funny, and so I told him I wanted to sign him, and he said, yeah, but he goes, make sure you get my name right, because a lot of people can confuse me with Cow Patty Tom.
That's not even.
That's a common mistake amongst audiences.
Tim the Dairy Farmer gets confused with Cow Patty Tom. It's kind of like that Tom Bosley, the Happy Days guy and the Charlie's Angels guy. People always confusing those two.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I saw pictures of Tom Rhodes with you. Tom Rhodes is an old buddy of mine. And,
yeah.
I saw pictures. Do you know him from Florida or just from being on the road? Yeah.
No, from Florida. Tom's a great guy. I really like Tommy Rhodes. He was the guy that we all looked up to as open micers in Florida.
Really?
Was Tommy back when he had his Jim Morrison long hair and
sure, yeah.
But here's a great story, Turner. And you can ask any one of us. We were all just open micers. I was open micing at the Comedy Corner in West Palm Beach, Florida, back in 1986. And is when that club opened. And so we had our little clique of comics, Carrot Top and, Daniel Tosh would stop in there every now and then. And so we had our little.
What a crew.
We had our clique.
Random.
And then they had the Orlando clique. And so we would go up. Joe Sanfilippo has these clubs called Bonkers, comedy clubs. And so we'd go up to Bonkers one day a week and do their open mic night. Actually, we did about once every 2 weeks, but we'd go up and we got along really good with the Orlando guys. So this is such a great story. So one night we all go to Denny's on Lee Road in Orlando to write jokes and just get some breakfast. It's like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:30. But sitting there's a table of 7 or 8 of us. And sitting there that day, everybody had jobs. We all had second jobs. We were all trying to be comedians. The only one that didn't, and he's the one we looked up to, was Tom Rhodes. But sitting at that table with Tom that night was me, Tommy Rhodes, me, Carrot Top, Daryl Hammond.
Wow, yeah, a Florida guy. Yeah.
Jim Brewer.
Holy cow.
Billy Gardell.
Dude.
A comedian named Tom Ryan, he lives in New York now.
Yeah.
And my buddy Chris Baker, who's who's a syndicated radio talk show host now. But we were all at that table together. All of us.
Nuts. And everybody, I mean, you're only missing the Regans. That's about it for Florida, right?
Yeah,
Brian and Dennis.
The Regans always used to come down there to Orlando. You know who would stop by once a year? It was hilarious. Tom Ryan always had a great line about it. Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, yeah.
Mitch Hedberg would come by on his way down to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. We never knew what the guy was up to. But Mitch Hedberg, every year he would stop by. He'd pop in, say hi to everybody, because he'd met us the years before. This is like his, I don't know, he'd pop in. They'd say, please welcome from blah, blah, blah. He'd run on stage and he'd kill. He'd go up for 10 minutes and just smoke it at the open mic night. And then come off stage, say goodbye to everybody, and leave. And we wouldn't see him for another year. And Tom Ryan goes, man, that guy's like Haley's comic.
Well, I brought up... Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. We had that club in West Palm Beach. I was so fortunate to be able to start at that club, because it was Rolling Stone magazine at one time pitted it as the 5th best comedy club in the country. The guy that owned it was my first manager. He's passed away since, John Stoll. But he was a big rock promoter down there. He owned Phantasma Productions. So every week was just packed with the best acts that you could think of. They all came through there, you know, Seinfeld and flipping Jay Leno, or Seinfeld and Rich Jenny and Dennis Wolfberg and all the Saturday Night Live. So one time, the biggest night ever, and we were just going nuts. He had a little theater next door, and he brought in the Budweiser Comedy Jam. So performing at the Comedy Corner was Larry Miller.
Yeah.
And next door at the Budweiser Comedy Jam was Richard Belzer, Dana Carvey, and Dennis Miller.
Holy cow.
And in the condo, staying and waiting to perform the next 2 weeks, because her parents lived in West Palm Beach, was Emo Phillips and Judy Tenuta.
Wow.
And so after the Budweiser Comedy Jam got done, they came over to hang out for the second show to watch Larry Miller. So sitting in the back of the room watching Larry Miller was all 3 of those guys, Belzer, Carvey, and Dennis Miller, Judy Tenuta, Emo Phillips, all sitting in the back of the room. Who comes walking in? Jerry Seinfeld. He's visiting his parents in Lauderdale, and he wants to come say hi to his Larry Miller. I mean, just that was one of the craziest nights ever. We were in heaven.
You were there, and was like all the local guys probably too.
All the locals. And you know, when I first started doing Larry the Cable Guy on stage as a character, I just did it for about 2 or 3 minutes in my show. I didn't, I was doing characters. I was trying to find something funny to do.
Yeah.
And I got done. I had been doing it. And this was before I ever did it on radio, but Dana Carvey and, not Dana Carvey, what's his name? Making copies.
Oh. David Spade?
No.
No, Rob Schneider. Rob
Schneider, yeah.
So Rob Schneider and David Spade are co-headlining the room. And I got off stage, and right when I got off stage, both of them came up to me and said, Dan, that flipping cable guy, that's a Saturday Night Live character. You got to keep working on that. That's funny.
Yeah.
And so kind of gave me some incentive to keep going on it.
Yeah, well. And then the Lincoln, Nebraska, whatever the stadium is, came next, right? 80,000.
Yeah.
What was that like performing for how many people is that?
Oh, man.
60, 70,000?
So it was 53,000.
Yeah.
And because we couldn't use the back of the stadium because the stage was there. So we used the sides, the middle, and the other side. And, man, it was Turner. I never want to do it again. My manager said, hey, we should do another one down in Florida because, I lived in Florida for a while. I said, JP, I'm done. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm glad we did it. First, when he mentioned we were going to do it, I said he was nuts. I said, what are you, stupid? We're not going to do a football stadium. That's stupid. Oh, I think we can do it. I said, well, first of all, it's going to be embarrassing because
if you sell 15,000 tickets, that should be pretty good. But in a football stadium,
I won't carry.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. So I'm thinking, it's going to look empty. And I didn't want to do it at first, but he convinced me that we would do well. So I remember the first day it went on sale, I am so dreading it. And all of a sudden I got a phone call from my friend Peg in the ticket office. And she says, hey, have you heard about any of the accounts today? And I said, no, Peg, please don't tell me I'm eating it. She goes, eating it? Are you kidding me? We just went. She goes, we've been on sale for 3 hours and you're already up to 22,000. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So then I got stoked, but I was so flipping nervous for that show. And I remember my jaw started popping. You know how you get like a pop jaw sometimes? Yeah. And it wouldn't go away. So a couple days before the show, I said, man, what is going on with my teeth? So I went into the dentist. First thing he said, he goes, what are you stressing out about? I said, well, why? I'm not stressed. He goes, no. He goes, every time your jaw pops, generally it's stress related. And then I said, well, that's that show. And so I'm not kidding. As soon as I got the first couple jokes out, my nervousness went away. Yeah. I only played for the front. I played because I've done a lot of fairs. So I only played for the people I could see right in front of me on the floor. And I just let everybody else follow. I kind of slowed my pace down because I'm all one-liner type stuff. So I kind of slowed my pace down so my timing could be with that pace. And, man, it came out so good. And as soon as I said good night and walked off stage, my jaw got better.
Really? Uh-huh. I mean, I imagine the pace. I've done at most 500, been in a room with 500, and I have to slow down at that. So if you're doing 50,000, is it outdoors, like a 30-second break between punchline and then start? And then, it's that whole act out where you have to act it out longer.
Right. Oh, yeah, you do. I mean, it's all about, I'm such a fan of comedy itself, but I love the one-liners. I grew up with those old-time comics, and I love the Dean Martin roasts. But a lot of my material, it's like Foxworthy said, he could do my jokes and not get any laughs with. Yes. It's how I tell the joke and the timing of the joke. So my act is a lot of it's just timing. A lot of my act depends on the timing of the joke. And so I had to really slow down when I did that show. But, man, it turned out really great. That's for sure. But
awesome.
I don't ever want to have to go through that again.
Yeah. Well, so cool. Well, we're taking a ton of your time here. So
I enjoyed talking to Turner Sport.
Well, thanks so much, man. Enjoyed talking to you as well. And we're going to get to the news here. We're going to let you get back to, I guess, the pond.
You know what? I got a nice little place I bought a long time ago out here in Lincoln, and I got 180 acres. It's a good little playground for the kids. But like I said, I wanted to go back to Nebraska. I grew up here. I lived in Florida 33 years, and I love Florida. But, here it's just a lot of wide open spaces, and I wanted my kids to kind of grow up with that. So
I went to University of Miami, by the way. I don't know if I told you that before.
Big football.
Yeah,
That's an early
years?
football game.
Actually, I'll tell you this. I was at the national championship game when we played Nebraska, 2001.
What about
2002?
Right.
Was it Eric Crouch or
Yeah, you killed us.
Tim? I was at that game. Yeah.
And there was also Nebraska, Miami in the '80s. I remember as a
Oh,
kid. My dad went to Nebraska for 1 year, so I would root for you guys because that was because you were great. So I remember that game. You went for 2.
Oh yeah.
Went for the win, right? Yeah.
Well, Tom Osborne had some balls, didn't he?
Yeah. He could have tied and won the national title those days.
But we went for 2. So my favorite experience with Nebraska Miami though is when we beat them when they had Warren Sapp and
Ray Lewis, right?
And Ray Lewis. And my favorite clip of all time, I still have it taped on VHS. My favorite clip of all time was Warren Sapp doing a dance in front of Osborne after tackling Tommy Frazier. And then in the fourth quarter, the guy on ESPN, I can't remember who it was commentating it, the main guy back in the day. But it shows a picture of Sapp and Ray Lewis taking oxygen on the bench. and what's his name from ESPN goes,
Keith Jackson or someone?
No, who was it? He's got his own radio show now through ESPN.
Oh, Brent Musburger? Maybe?
No, ESPN.
No. Oh, ESPN.
I'm not sure.
Lee Corso, I don't know.
No. Anyway, he goes a little bit of the cockiness leaving apparently, and it was like, oh, that's perfect.
Tommy Frazier could really ball, so
Tommy Frazier got screwed.
Yeah,
Tommy Frazier should have won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah,
and he got screwed out of that in '96.
Well, I watched. It's funny you watch that
95,
game. About a month ago, just sitting around bored in the middle of this whole pandemic, I watched that Miami Nebraska 2001 game.
Oh, that was. I think it was 23-3 or something, wasn't it?
It was 37. It ended up 37-14, which I didn't remember. It was. They got a couple. You guys got a couple fourth quarter touchdowns, but yeah, that was the team.
Revenge. I tell you what, though, it was always like so unfair to play Miami in Miami on their home field for a bowl game.
Oh, yeah, the Orange Bowl. Well, that one was in L.A., but you're right. That was a real scam we had going.
Oh, that's right. It was in L.A.
That was I was at that one.
Sucks to play Miami in L.A.
Although, I'll tell you, from being
it's still warm weather.
I was at that game, and there was, what is the Rose Bowl seats, like 80, 90,000 or something? It was 85 to 90% Nebraska fans, and they were uncomfortably nice.
Yeah, we're good fans.
Everybody was congratulating us on winning, and I'm coming from Miami ready to,
it's not their name.
I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. Thank you, I guess.
We have that reputation of being nice fans. We are good fans, that's for sure. But boy, I tell you what, they better. I sure hope that they play college football. I mean, if for anything, people need to understand that even during World War II and stuff, you got to do it just for the camaraderie, just to get people up. You know, you can't keep everybody just depressed. You got to have an escape. Right now, every escape that the American people need is gone. Entertainment and sports.
Well, that golf thing yesterday with was it
Tom Brady
on Sunday? That was the highest rated golf event of all time.
Well, people want an escape, and that's what sucks about comedy clubs. That is such an escape. They should be also with churches. They should be essential. That they should be an essential part of American life because people need to laugh. It's good for the soul, and. I have so many different views on this, but none of this had to happen. And there's going to be, I think that there's going to be a lot of people, once this is said and done, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits coming down on some governors for this. You know, there's always a quote by a guy named Dallas Willard that I like. And his quote is always, reality is what you bump into when you're wrong.
That's a good one.
That describes a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Pretty well.
So anyway.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for doing it.
We really appreciate it.
Hey,
And,
you guys are great, man. Hey, and good luck on the podcast, Turner.
Thank you so much.
And we'll
Podcasts are booming.
Yeah, man, they really are. So we'll, hey, man, we love working with you, and anything you need, you just let us know.
Well, thank you very much, man. It's a luxury, I think, where I'm at in comedy to have a place to go, a place to put an album. If I write material, I know it can come out somewhere. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You need to come on my Sirius show on Fridays every now and then, play a couple games with us.
Anytime, I'd love to.
You got it, brother.
Thanks, Larry.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Enjoy the cigar.
Hey, I got to do this before I leave. I'm so sorry, but it's in my contract. Get her done.
Yes, get her done. Thank you very much.
I barely had any accent in the whole daggone conversation.
All right, Cap, let's get to the news.
All right, see you guys.
Music.
See ya.